Welcome, Dolphins fans, haters, and everyone in between to your favorite show discussing the greatest franchise in sports, the Miami Dolphins. This is the PhinsPod. My name is Moose, your host, and after watching Giannis Antetokounmpo and the Milwaukee Bucks win a championship on Tuesday night, I found myself beginning to wonder, how would that feel as a fan? The Bucks hadn't won a championship in 50 years. That's a long time for a fan base to wait, huh? Huh, guys? From fantasizing about what a Dolphins Super Bowl championship would feel like, I started to wonder what it would look like. So today, we're going to be looking at what has to go right in order for the Fins to pull off a surprise championship this season. So strap up and let's dive in.
Tua Tagovailoa is on a team right now that if they had a real quarterback, like a Super Bowl caliber quarterback, they might win the Super Bowl. They're ready. Look, that defense is real. They have offensive weapons. They added an offensive weapon where you get him the ball 5 yards out and he could take it to the house in Waddle, right? They have everything they need. They have an excellent coach. That's a team that's ready to win now. And you know what? Most people are taking them third in the division. And why are they taking them third in the division? Because you believe in Belichick, you believe in Josh Allen, and I think people still don't know about Tua Tagovailoa.
In 1930, the Republican-controlled House of Representatives, in an effort to alleviate the effects of anyone. I actually just wanted to apologize for the toned-down sound of the last two episodes. I actually was not in the most private environment when recording, so I think I overcompensated a bit and was a bit monotone. But do not worry, back in the studio, and my annoying loud ass is back. So to the topic at hand, in order for the Miami Dolphins to win a Lombardi Trophy in the 2020-2021 NFL season, a lot of things are going to have to go right. And as much faith as I do have in the direction of the team, the core pieces that they've brought together, the coaching, I do feel like Miami is more likely to be a contender this season and then potentially show their inexperience deeper into the playoffs. And that would still be a huge step forward and proof that the process is working. But there is a chance that they will shock the world and make a deep run, a run that could be capped off by a championship. And we're going to look at each position group and identify who will need to step up and in what way for this run to be possible. And we're going to start on the defensive side of the ball. The unit's going to have to be a top 5 defense, and it's something that they're completely capable of. And frankly, it's the unit that I have the most trust in going forward. And that's mostly due to the fact that the defense is under the eye of Brian Flores himself. But regardless, the defense is going to need to be an aggressive unit, high in the league for takeaways, and a continuation of their bend but don't break philosophy, which keeps the team in the game. Remember, Miami would let up a decent amount of yards for opposing offenses, but they would get extremely tight in the red zone. They actually finished 7th in red zone defense last season, and that's going to need to continue, if not improve, if this Super Bowl run is possible. So how does that work? Well, it's all about keeping the offense in front of you and dictating where you want the ball to go. It's far better to let up 3 points, thus allowing your offense to rebut by not just potentially getting a field goal to match, but then overtaking and scoring a touchdown. And from the perspective of the chess match that is football, forcing the opponent to settle, it's a win. Allowing touchdowns is what loses games. Starting on the back end of the defense, in order for the Dolphins to win a Super Bowl this season, they need to get Xavier Howard back in the building and ready to go. They can't play the same elite level of defense without him. That much is obvious. And regardless of if he holds out and comes back in the second half of the season, regardless of if Miami bends a little and bumps up his guarantees this year just to appease him, whatever it takes. If Miami wants to make it to Super Bowl 56 in LA, they need the best corner in the game, and that's what Xavier Howard is. Moving beyond Howard, because he's not the only thing about the Flores defense, and Josh Boyer, got to give him credit, not the only thing about the defense that makes it tick. We do need the rest of the secondary to at least hold their own and at least maybe improve a little bit their level of play. Because again, the secondary did play extremely well. And look, if they replicate the defensive performance of last year and the offensive improves, they can be a contender in the AFC. And when I say we want guys to be consistent or improve a little bit, those guys I'm referring to are Nick Needham and Eric Rowe. And the reason I say that is for Nick Needham, he's proven to be reliable in the slot, which is a surprise considering he was an undrafted find. And if he stays consistent, that's a good thing for this defense. And ideally, he does improve a little bit. Specifically, you want to see his recovery speed go up and his overall recoverability improve. Once he got burned at the line, if the slot receiver made a move that kind of left him in the dust right off the bat, it was over for Nick Needham. So that definitely does need to improve. And look, Miami could, look at other options at the nickel position, but it is Nick Needham's to lose. Moving on to Eric Rowe. Rowe's honestly, in my opinion, at least last season, he was a secret weapon of the defense. He's versatile in what you can do with him in terms of the game plan too. And look, if you're playing a threat at tight end, just match Rowe up with him and let him work. Obviously, we've seen him struggle against the Darren Wallers and the Travis Kelce's of the world, although he was pretty good against George Kittle, although Kittle, I believe, was recovering from an injury, so who knows what percentage health he was at. But, when you're not playing the best tight ends in the freaking league, Rowe's going to cover you, make you a non-factor, and that's very important to have. If you need to play zone defense too, his versatility goes beyond tight ends. If you're just playing zone defense and you want a reliable tackling corner, coverage DB, playing coverage in the flat or covering the hook route, Rowe can do that. He can play coverage safety sort of in shallow areas of the field. And I really think it feels like he's found a home in this specific defense. Obviously, he knows it well from his playing days with Flores and Boyer in New England, but the Dolphins are using him differently than the Pats did. New England tried him more as a pure coverage safety, further in the back end of the defense, and he would play the boundary, and his weaknesses would be exposed when playing the boundary. We saw that in 2019, the beginning of the season. He wasn't a great outside corner. He never was. Just ask the Eagles. Flores made a move midseason, and they decided to play him at the strong safety spot, allowing him to roam and match up according to what the offensive personnel was. And look, it has proven to be the right call because he's flourished in this specific defense. And that's something that you want to see in terms of signs that your coaching is working. When decisions are made and you're not sure, Bobby McCain being moved to safety, Eric Rowe moving to strong safety, they ended up working out. Bobby McCain not working out as well as Eric Rowe, obviously, and that's kind of been proven out. But it's good to see that the move that Brian Flores made for Eric Rowe has improved this defense and has improved Eric Rowe's overall play. Now, a couple of guys who do need to step up in the back end, one, and the most obvious, is Noah Igbenogany. If Miami wants to be able to play defense against the best offenses in the league, go toe-to-toe with Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs in late January, then they need horses at the corner slot. You need a stable of guys who can be thrown out when you need them, and having Noah play up to his first-round billing is just going to take the secondary and defense to the next level. And in an ideal world, you have Noah playing well with Xavier and Byron Jones playing at a high level too, and I personally believe Iggy is capable. He is certainly touting some confidence via social media. And look, I am in number 9's corner all day. I might not have liked him changing to number 9. I still think that's weird. I got to adapt to it. I'm a bit more old school when it comes to that stuff. But hey, if he plays well, I'll be the first in line to forgive him. And look, I'm really intrigued to see how the Dolphins use Byron Jones this season, because he did not play up to his billing. As much as he got paid, he needs to play at a higher rate. And if this defense wants to be shut down deep in the playoffs, elite, playing against Josh Allen, playing against Mahomes, and then potentially playing a Brady in the Super Bowl and Aaron Rodgers in the Super Bowl if he ends up with the Packers, although who knows what's going on there. But Byron Jones must improve his play, and I'm intrigued to see if the Fins use him in different ways now that he's a year into the defense and a little more comfortable with the calls and understands, what each role is and how it works together. And specifically, would they entertain playing Byron Jones at free safety? He's proven that he can do it at a high level. He played the position for a time in Dallas, but Miami would be best served if they could actually use him at his natural position of corner. and then have a safety playing at a high level. And look, that doesn't mean that they won't have Jones playing free safety in certain packages or against certain teams if the matchup calls for it for that week. But I'm going to especially keep a lookout for him this season. He's being paid some big bucks, and you could argue that Miami might not be in this position with Xavier Howard, the better corner, if they didn't sign Jones to that mega deal last offseason. Just food for thought. So it's extremely important that that investment pays off. And the position on the defensive end, the back end of the defense, of the overall most intrigue and potential concern, just because I don't know what to expect, it's at the free safety position. And earlier this offseason, as we spoke of, we let Bobby McCain go, and since then he's joined Ryan Fitzpatrick in Washington. But who's going to step up to fill the void? There's seemingly two obvious options. Brandon Jones, now entering his second season, and rookie Javon Holland. And realistically, there will be a healthy mix of the two, and both provide similar things in coverage and against the run, at least right now, where Brandon Jones is a year into the league and what you can expect from a rookie playing the free safety position. Here's the thing, though. Javon Holland is getting rave reviews so far, at least in terms of the amount of the defense he's been able to pick up and what they're throwing at him. And look, his film from Oregon, it's fun to watch. Jones is a sound tackler. He's more explosive and a better athlete, Javon Holland. His ceiling is higher. That much is evident. So Brandon Jones is more the guy who's you want to be consistent and kind of just like his ceiling is just a stud guy who executes, makes occasional plays. Javon Holland is a guy who can be a game breaker. He's proven that at Oregon. He led the nation or tied the nation with led the nation, I believe, with one other player with interceptions. So it's honestly something that when you compare the two, it's clear that Holland has a knack to make plays on the ball, something that Jones never really did at Texas, and something we didn't see too much of when he did play last year, especially in coverage. He did force a fumble, which was good to see, and it shows he is a playmaker to some extent, but he wasn't really a factor in the passing game or in coverage. And look, turnovers are the key to this defense, so if Holland is going to provide that opportunity more often, then by the end of the season, he'll likely be starting at free safety. But again, Brandon Jones, he's going to have every opportunity in the world to earn those reps and earn that playing time. At the linebacker position, some may argue that the Dolphins actually got worse with the loss of Kyle Van Noy. Here's the thing, and look, I hope you're listening, Kyle. I think the Dolphins are better off, and you could ask why. Firstly, Jerome Baker. Jerome Baker is a stud, and he has steadily improved his game each season, and the recent contract extension shows that he has the trust and belief of the coaches. That's enough for me. Look, he should play good to great football this season. And then playing in the middle with Baker is Benardrick McKinney, a true thumper, so kind of a different style to how Baker plays. And look, that can be extremely effective in run defense, something Miami needs to improve on. He does lack in coverage, but he's by no means a total liability. He's no Raekwon McMillan out there, but he's a solid blitzer as well, and he needs to register some sacks with Baker from the middle linebacker position to help the defense stay ahead of the sticks and win football games. You want to see pressure up the middle, not just from defensive tackles in the line, but from blitzing linebackers. So it's good that Miami has two who have proven that they can do it at a high level in McKinney and Baker. And of course, we're also going to be seeing Landon Roberts as depth there too, although I don't know if you're a longtime listener, you know my views on Landon Roberts. I feel like I don't really know why we brought him back. He's kind of limited. He's kind of got concrete in his shoes there, in his cleats. So if a running back does, just head fake, he's in the other direction. So I'm not a huge fan of Roberts, so expect Jerome Baker and Benardrick McKinney to mainly man the middle linebacker role. Where I believe this team and overall defense is going to take the biggest jump, and frankly, where they need to take the biggest jump on the defensive side of the ball in order to win a Super Bowl, is a legitimate pass rush and a flat-out scary defensive line. And you know what? I think they got the makings of it. Start with the foundational building blocks of the Flores era. Christian Wilkins. And look, he hasn't been a world beater, not what you really hoped for coming out of Clemson, and based on, his loud voice, the way he entered with the the Goodell, you're like, oh, this guy's going to be a stud. He's been solid, okay? Not a sack machine, but he's not a super plus player in the passing game, playing defense against the pass. But he is stout against the run. He is good against the run, not elite or anything, but definitely solid, and a spark plug overall in terms of what he provides to the defense in terms of energy. And look, all teams need those guys who get it going. And it's apparent, at least from the interviews and the way his teammates treat him, that Christian Wilkins is one of those spark plugs. So that is important, to bring the right attitude and hold your own on the football field. He does need to improve and become more disruptive overall, but that's something I think he is capable of. He does have all the physical talent in the world to do it. And defensive tackle is kind of a hard position to learn when you're not a giant. And that's who I'm really excited about. The next guy, a giant, Raekwon Davis. I believe he could become a household name, at least in football households, by year's end. And in this scenario, one where Miami is terrorizing quarterbacks in the playoffs, they need to be able to bring pressure up the middle and collapse pockets. It has been shown time and time again that the best way to rattle a quarterback and prevent him from getting comfortable, aside from sacking him, of course, is to bring consistent pressure up the middle in his face. And this is key because it prevents the quarterback from stepping up into his throws. And that inability to climb the pocket eventually wears guys down mentally. And it makes them jittery, forcing errant passes and leading to more, you guessed it, turnovers. Think of all those games the Dolphins were able to, knock off the Patriots back in the 2010s and even late 2000s. They were able to do it oftentimes when Brady was playing at MVP levels because they were putting pressure in his face. That was how you beat Brady. Obviously, getting him around the edge is great, but if you had someone in those quarterbacks' face, it just makes everything easier from a defensive perspective because that quarterback is not comfortable and is hurrying and is forcing things because he's not stepping into throws. He's not feeling like he's getting the zip that he wants, and he's not confident and comfortable. So that's what you want to do as a defense. Make the quarterback as uncomfortable as possible. And the combination of Raekwon Davis, Christian Wilkins, and even guys we haven't touched on like Zach Sealer, who is a damn good rotational tackle, Adam Butler from New England, who I think is an upgrade from Devon Godchow and will provide that pass rush ability from the interior. Boy, I think this defensive line can be something serious and actually a top 10 unit in the league. And lastly, on the defensive side of the ball, and pretty much on the line, but they'll stand up, they'll put their hand in the dirt, the edge position. And the Dolphins finally have some guys who can bring the heat. And if they want to be competitive with teams like the Kansas City Chiefs, like the Buffalo Bills, and potentially the Tennessee Titans, they have to bring down the quarterback. Also, the reason I say Titans is you throw in Julio Jones into that mix, I'm a little worried about what they might look like. And I do not want Ryan Tannehill doing better than the Miami Dolphins. But the reason that ends get paid more, far more, than defensive tackles is because they're the ones to actually get to the quarterback and bring down the quarterback, which again is what you need to compete with these teams. And Miami's bringing back, obviously, Andrew Van Ginkel, who's really shown that he has the potential, I'm going to say it, to be a top 10 sack leader in the league. And of course, the same could be said about Emmanuel Ogbah. He too will need to be disruptive coming from the edge. And I think the best part about the unit overall, the defensive end and outside linebacker unit, is how there's finally some depth that allows you to keep throwing in fresh legs to attack the passer and wear down the tackles. And in spell of Van Ginkel and Ogbah, you have Vince Beagle, who we need to see what he's going to look like coming off that Achilles injury. It is a rough injury, but he's going to get a chance to at least be a rotational guy if he proves he can still play at a good level. And most excitingly, Jalen Phillips. And obviously, I thought they were going to have him specifically just play on the line, but they've listed him at linebacker. He's going to be playing more of a versatile role on the edge. And in my imagination of a Dolphins championship, I did see some plays from the rookie. In my visions, on my vision board, I have Jalen Phillips sacking Patrick Mahomes in the AFC Championship game. And look, he's not an ordinary rookie. That's why I say that. He's an elite prospect. He is. His physical tools combined with his talent, it's not easy to find. And if he can be coached up and stay healthy, then I really believe Miami's in for a treat. He's not, your average defensive end you bring in, especially where Miami drafted him. I said it when we got him, and I still feel that way. And if Miami is going to be a, top 5 defense, top 3 defense, they need to get to the quarterback. They need to get sacks from everywhere. And I see no reason why Jalen Phillips can't contribute to that sack total as a rookie. Before jumping into the offense, let's briefly touch on special teams because, hey, winning teams win in all 3 phases. Brian Flores makes sure to let everyone know that. And the good thing is that Miami has the best damn kicker in the league. So check that off. I'm not worried. I'll be worried when we need to be worried, but there's no reason to be. He's the best kicker in the league, at least, in the last year. We'll ignore Justin Tucker's whole career, but 2020, give me Jason Sanders, and I'm a happy camper. In terms of the punting game, I have no idea what to expect from Matt Pilardi. But again, if you're a Super Bowl team, you want to have a good punting unit. But he was a solid punter for the Panthers, and frankly, upgrade from Matt Hawk. Matt Hawk lost me with his continuous shanking in critical moments. I don't know if you guys noticed how many times he would boom punts when the Dolphins are kind of out of games, and you're like, oh, good punt, man. And then when it's like a tight game and you need to flip the field, just shanks a 35-yard punt. You're like, dude, this is the worst time for that. And Miami's going to need to be winning the field position battle. So not only are they going to need that good kicking game from their punter and their kickoff kicker, which is Sanders, but they need to also find a good return man. I don't think that's going to be Jakeem Grant. I know a lot of you don't hope that's going to be Jakeem Grant, and he's going to have a tough time making the roster as a receiver, but I am worried that he could sneak on due to his ability in the returning game, and also his chemistry with Tua. He, out of all the receivers aside from probably Devontae Parker, it appears Jakeem Grant has been mostly working with Tua, and that may pay dividends if Tua's looking to him in preseason and in camp. Just the fact that he's comfortable with Grant could elevate his status in the receiving room. But we'll see. And also, again, he is a really good return guy. So if he does come back and, Miami didn't cut someone who was better, in our opinion, to do it, which I doubt is going to be the case. But if he does come back and that's the direction we choose to go, then we do have a potentially elite return guy. But if he is gone, which, again, we all hope might be the case, Noah Benogany, Jalen Waddle, who I'm a little apprehensive to put in the return game, don't want him getting hurt on a sort of meaningless punt return when you can use him in so many ways offensively. So honestly, throw Noah there, or Javon Holland even. But Robert Foster has proven that he can also return kicks. So Miami does have names there with some experience and explosion too. So don't be worried. I think special teams is going to continue to be a solid unit. Moving to the offensive side of the ball, look, it's obvious. If Miami's going to go far, they're going to need to be taken there by Tua Tagovailoa. And none of these aspirational conversations, the last, 15 minutes of us talking, none of this is going to be anything. It's not going to matter. It's not going to be reality if our quarterback is mediocre. And so rather than talking about each position specifically, let's talk about how the offense should look as a whole. And I'm excited for camp next week and for the preseason so we can actually get a look at what George Godsey and Eric Studsville's offense is going to look like. And I'd like to see them be a near 50-50 run-pass team, maybe a little bit more pass-heavy, but a balanced attack. And the Dolphins have done a good job acquiring a bevy of talent with a ranging skill set. And the best way to utilize these weapons and attack defenses is to keep them on their heels. Have them guessing where you're going to attack them next. And when defenses are worried about every single part of the field, then it inherently opens up the running game too when they're worried at the deep passing attack and they're pulling the safeties back. The linebackers are covering the tight ends. Now you only have 4 defensive tackles and 5 offensive linemen. Run that ball up the middle and gain 4 or 5 yards. Keep them honest. And speaking of the running game, Myles Gaskin's going to need to stay healthy for the team because he's already shown that he can be a capable lead back. And yes, Savon Ahmed and even Jared Dokes, who I think is going to see some reps because, again, he is more of that thumping running back in the red zone, third and short guy that you can use. But Myles Gaskin is definitely the go-to, and he's proved that he can hold that mantle. The offensive line obviously is going to need to mesh as well, albeit a young offensive line. And not only should they be protecting Tua, obviously by minimizing the sacks and pressures, but they also need to be really effective in the running game. Road graders, that's what they were drafted to be. You got guys like Solomon Kindley and Robert Hunt. They were touted as run blocking specialists. And this line has that capability with the guys that they brought in, like I mentioned, Robert Hunt, Austin Jackson on the outside, and Liam Eichenberg, of course. We'll find out sort of what happens at the center position. But regardless, this Super Bowl championship team that we're discussing, they have a unit that meshes well and works well together. I don't frankly care what those names are. I don't care if Michael Dieter jumps in there, Matt Skura. I don't care if you kick Robert Hunt back out to tackle later in the year. Whatever works. Protect the quarterback and be able to run the ball. So that's all that you want to expect. And look, the offensive line, they are young, But if they prove to mesh and grow together, one, you have a lot of them under contract long term, so that's excellent long term. But look, they're powerful dudes, and they could potentially elevate this offensive attack just by helping with the running game. That helps so much, and Miami's running game was non-existent last season. But a way to bail out the offensive line is to use quick strikes all over the field, quick passing attack, something that it seemed like the Dolphins wanted to do last year with Tua, but just didn't have the guys who could get open fast enough. You want to get the ball out fast so that you force the defense to play the playmakers. You want to get the ball in their hands and force the defense to focus their attention there rather than making your quarterback miserable and jittery. And look, Miami has plenty of playmakers. Finally, Will Fuller. He's going to need to be a true deep threat for this offense. Ideally, his average yards per reception is going to be in the mid to high 20s. His mere presence, though, is going to keep secondaries honest, and Tua has to develop chemistry to the point where they can take shots whenever the opportunity arises. And, of course, you have Devontae Parker as well on the outside, who's proven to be a good 1B receiver. Not really a number one elite receiver as much as I hoped he would be, being a first-round pick, but he is definitely someone, if you have a 1A, 1B, which I think Will Fuller, Devontae Parker very well could be. And the other guy to keep an eye on the outside is Preston Williams. We may not talk about him too often, but he still has all the upside in the world from a physical perspective. Aside from injuries, he played well, and he was a good target for Tua in the brief time that they did play together. Having him back and healthy is going to be great in case of injury to Devontae. And, of course, the way that the Dolphins are going to play offense, they'll have Jalen Waddle play on the outside. Mike Gesicki will go step on the outside. So they're going to attack defenses with different types of athletes at different levels of the field. And where I think this offense is going to eat, where they're going to mainly move the chains, is in the slot. I think Tua is going to use the middle of the field to his advantage often, and he has the guys to do it. Jalen Waddle, as we mentioned, Albert Wilson, Lynn Bowden Jr., and my dark horse, Robert Foster, who I mentioned as a possible return man. These guys have serious acceleration, and Albert Wilson and Bowden are special after the catch. Having so many ways to attack that defense like we talked about, it allows your game plans to be multiple. Perhaps the team you're playing is a top-end run defense. Well, make sure to attack the weakness and open up your running lanes by pushing the ball downfield in the passing game. If you're playing a really damn good secondary, then line up in 12 personnel, get Adam Shaheen, Mike Gesicki, put Christian Wilkins in at fullback if you want, and just run the ball up their throats. Use a lot of short and quick throws, too, to help alleviate the really tight secondary coverage. And use your tight ends, too, to open up the middle of the field. There's a lot you can do when you have a variety of talent, which, again, last year, we've gone through it. They did not have. This year, they do. Again, this is a very optimistic slant. You're looking at everything in a positive light where everyone's playing to a high level, which, of course, needs to happen for them to have a chance to win a Super Bowl, which is what this episode is about. But, again, at least they've brought in the guys. If we're going to step back and just look at the team right now, it's just awesome that the coaches and the front office as a whole have gotten together and brought in guys who are developing and have different skill sets, as we talked about. The big outside guys, the speed guys on the outside, good slot guys who are good after the catch, and speedy slot guys, as well as different types of running backs. You can do so much when you have a good quarterback who's efficient and plays like a point guard, which is exactly what Tua is, a good offensive philosophy and offensive coordinator, which we still need to find out, and then, of course, good effective offensive play. But moving on to the last position, the tight ends. Miami's not only going to need Mike Gesicki to play at a Pro Bowl level in order to be a top 10 offense, which is frankly probably what they're going to need to be a Super Bowl contender, but they need Durham Smythe, Hunter Long, and Adam Shaheen too to step up. Someone has to become a viable tight end too in this offense and not have four guys who are good but kind of one-dimensional. When Durham Smythe's out there, we know they're probably running. When Mike Gesicki's out there, they're probably passing it. We want our tight ends to improve to a point where you can have any combination and you can do anything. Defenses can't predict what you're doing just based off the personnel. And obviously, the ultimate goal of the offense is scoring touchdowns, where tight ends are very important. And that's where overall, perhaps the most important thing for the offense to achieve is efficiency in the red zone, something they didn't really do a great job of last year. And it's extremely hard to do. Everything is tighter. Throwing windows are smaller. Plays move quicker. executing at a higher level just becomes difficult, even more difficult. And as we spoke of, Miami does have some serious weapons with different skill sets, so they can be creative with how they scheme guys open. And wrapping up what this hypothetical championship team could be, we have to talk about Tua, of course. He has proven to be a winner in college, of course. He has shown that he can take command of a team and lead them to victory, even as a freshman. So we need to see that same confidence, swagger, and decisiveness. That's, I think, the most important thing. And that comes with confidence in the offense and confidence in himself. In order for this team to take a big leap, Tua's going to have to play with that, what he showed at Bama. In that situation, bring that to the NFL. That's what we need to see. Confidence, swagger, and decisiveness. You need to be the man with a plan, which is why you broke records. And that's what we drafted him for, and that's what we as fans expect and hope to see. We go as Tua goes. If he struggles to improve dramatically and he plays at an average level, perhaps like a 16 to 20th rated passer and efficiency numbers or just, QBR, then Miami's going to have a hard time getting far in the postseason or maybe even getting to the postseason. But if he comes in with a better understanding of the system and the offense, again, having improved weapons around him and more confidence in not only that mental understanding of the game, but extremely improved physical strength following a year removed from rehab, then I think we have a damn good quarterback on our hands. And look, my money, as I've said this before, it's on the latter. So in the long run, even if all these other things that we've talked about don't go right, then the team's still going to be fine. And some of you may disagree and feel like this season is impending doom and failure because you have no faith in Tua. But if you can take a guess from the overall tone of this episode, I'm not one of those people. And look, if the cookie crumbles in a certain way, then we could look back at this moment as a milestone. Hey, it's the first time we as fans could look back, take a step back, and look at our Miami Dolphins and say, why not us? And look, I'll say it again. Why not us?
Dolphins owner Stephen Ross beaming with pride, calling it a dream come true. This massive training complex directly next to Hard Rock Stadium has everything you can ever want or imagine. 3 fields, indoor and outdoor, a massive 2-floor weight room, recovery and therapy rooms, meeting rooms, film areas, plunge pools, and even an underwater treadmill. All before you get inside the huge locker room. Let's say times have changed for the Dolphins and how they train.
At St. Thomas, we used to have chicken wire with 2x4s and a nail in it, so it's a lot different. The locker room, when you go inside and see it, it's amazing, especially for all, the players, free agents come in and all that, so it's exciting.
Marino and the other alumni were in awe, and as Ross joked, the pressure is now on the current players and coaches to produce with no excuses for not having the right resources.
I've had a vision for this facility, for this team, and today is the realization of that vision. There's a lot of excitement for this season. I certainly am.
And I saved the best part for last, the highly discussed slide right in the middle of the weight room. Why is it here? Who cares? Everyone loves going down a slide.
That's going to do it for us here today. Thank you guys so much for listening to the PhinsPod. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you again to Timothy Ritchie, member of the pod and supporter of the show over on Patreon. Check that out. Links in the description or head to patreon.com/PhinsPod. Thank you all again so much for the continued support. And please remember to like the video if you enjoyed the show and subscribe just so you never miss a chance to chat about your Miami Dolphins. Remember that the PhinsPod's available on all platforms, Spotify, Apple, and Google Podcasts, and of course, YouTube. Continue the conversation with us over on Twitter and Instagram @PhinsPod. And I hope you all have an amazing day. Until next time, stay safe. Love y'all.